Good morning, Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered, Officer Down Part 2, Failed Bail Reform. How does bail reform play a role in events or incidents like the one that happened yesterday? And who was missing from the scene yesterday? Which elected officials were not there and why? Let's talk about it. Good morning. This is Freddie Vasquez with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Failed bail reform.
Let's get it popping.
Thank you for joining me, folks. If you're joining me, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching. I'm Freddie Vasquez. I want to talk about bail reform, yesterday's incident or shooting, and which elected officials were missing, who were absent from yesterday's press conference, who were not, which officials were not there, who should have been there. Talk about it.
And New York lawmakers who voted in favor of the new bail reform are now saying changes need to be made. As we told you yesterday on Good Morning Twin Tiers, Democrats are beginning to open the door to changes on the law as the legislative session begins this week. Assemblymember Pat Fahey says prior to the reform, it was a person's pocketbook that dictated their level of justice, and the new law was an attempt to level that playing field. But now she's also saying there are more changes to consider, such as risk assessment tools to define whether an individual is to be held. Lawmakers say they plan to start their discussions on changes to the reform today.
Good morning, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Yeah, bail reform needs reform. Members of our government who voted for bail reform are now backpedaling. And I'm not saying that yesterday's incident was directly related to the failed bail reform, but I am making the correlation between thoughtless legislation and the increase in incidents like the one we saw yesterday. Officer Brian Menton, 27-year veteran of the Yonkers Police Department, was shot yesterday in the abdomen, listed as in critical but stable condition. The suspect who shot the officer was immediately killed by FBI agents who were a part of the Joint Task Force, Safe Streets Task Force. They have been conducting an investigation on 3 individuals who they followed into the bodega yesterday on Elm Street, and then gunfire erupted. I've been trying to catch up and get some more information, and I have a little bit of updated information. I'm starting to learn about the suspect, his name, and, I know a lot of people who know the individual, the suspect who was killed yesterday. So I'm starting to hear a little bit about, the info from, the side of the family and friends. And, they're upset, rightfully so. Many are wondering, why did officers have to shoot to kill? Excuse me. If the officer was not shot, maybe I can see asking that question. And I'm not taking sides here, although I do support police. I do support Yonkers police, support police officers in general, as they have a dangerous job. But what I told someone who asked the question, why did they not just shoot him in the leg or the arm? This is happening in a matter of seconds. That's first of all. It's happening in a matter of seconds. Officer is shot in the stomach. He goes down immediately. Seconds to think. You draw your weapon. You fire upon the threat which was the individual who shot the officer, you don't necessarily think about, I would imagine, I've never been in that situation, of how you're going to shoot the individual, right? You just want to return fire and eliminate the threat, eliminate the possibility of another officer being shot or anyone else that may be in the bodega, the person behind the counter, from being shot. Bullets exiting the bodega window and hitting someone on the street. You know, we can't Monday quarterback this. None of us can. We were not there, right? They will present the videos. I'm hoping that they will release that video. I'm sure they will after a certain time, and then we can see what actually happened. But it's sad on both sides. There's a mother who lost a son. There's a family who are praying that they don't lose their loved one, the officer, Brian Menton, that is in the hospital currently, underwent surgery from what I hear. But it's not looking good. It's not looking good for the officer. That's what I'm hearing from sources. I mean, like I mentioned yesterday in the podcast, getting hit in the abdomen, it's serious because there are a lot of organs there, a lot of vital organs. I hear that, just having issues with his colon, intestines. So it's, did a lot of damage in that area. He, God willing, will recover, but he may not obviously, be the same as he once were. And to have this happen only a week from retiring, that makes it just that much more difficult, right? So sources are saying it's not looking good for Officer Brian Menton, a 27-year veteran, due to retire in a week. The officer was a narcotics unit officer for a long time, responsible for many arrests and well-known, and was well-known among the street culture, for lack of a better word or a better term. The suspect, a 27-year-old male with 5 children, a Yonkers native who had been living in Georgia for some time now. He had come back up here apparently to visit family and friends. That's according to his mother, Vanessa, who spoke with the news, with News 12, and is wondering why officers had to shoot to kill. I may be asking the same question. I may have been asking the same question had it not been for the fact that the officer was shot and was shot, severely, shot in critical condition. She's not saying that she agrees or disagrees, with, saying that her son was right or wrong. She just wants to know more information, and that will come out shortly. The officers did not have body cams because they were plainclothes, undercover most likely, and the body cams would give them away. They're sure there's video in the store, and they will be, if they're ready, I'm sure, going over that. The fact that the officer was shot and is critically wounded at that point, I would imagine all bets are off, right? All bets are off. They're going to just shoot, and they got to eliminate that threat. So what really happened? We don't know yet. But what I do know is that some of our elected officials were MIA. Who were missing in action, right? Who were missing from the photo op, and where were they? Missing was the majority leader and buddy, bail reform supporter, and now backpedaler, Nader Sayegh. Where were you? You represent the entire city of Yonkers, Nader, Assemblyman Sayegh. So why did they not show up? Were they busy distributing food somewhere? I don't know. Was Nader hiding because he obviously is anti-police? He did support bail reform and now supports reforming bail reform. Realize he made a mistake, right? Did the YPD union endorse this man? If they did, I don't think they should be endorsing him this coming election. Give it to the Republican, Mike Breen. Maybe this time around, Breen will secure the YPD union endorsement. Nader, a man that has made a living in politics and slip and fall accident claims, has not been very pro-police. We are here to represent all people, cops, and the people, right? And we have to make sure that when you pass legislation, you put a lot of thought into it, okay? And not that this incident had anything directly to do with bail reform, but the fact that bail reform has made individuals or has emboldened individuals because they know that the laws are a little bit lax now, right? Has created the opportunity for more incidents like this to happen, right? So Nader is a man that panders to groups for votes, which is why he is thoughtlessly voted in favor of bail reform that allowed criminals to walk free and the public to be victimized unnecessarily. That is why he is now backpedaling, because he has a strong Republican challenger, and Republicans are traditionally very pro-cop. Individuals like Nader Sage are pro whatever will get them a vote. So again, why didn't Assemblyman Nader Sage show up at the scene? Why? Yesterday, when his office is literally within walking distance from the scene of the crime or the scene of the shooting. He could have simply walked across Chicken Island, went up the steps there, crossed Nepperhan Avenue, and walked a little bit up to the scene. He would have been there in minutes, or he could have drove his state provided vehicle. He has showed up for other things like the anti-mask rally at Larkin Plaza, right? The rally was to send the governor a message, although Nader doesn't want to be seen as an unsupportive individual when it comes to Kathy. He took the opportunity to speak and campaign at the anti-mask and other opportunities where he'd speak. But now, when Officer was shot, there's a huge scene, literally minutes from his office. He's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found, right? And Breen, you should have showed up. That would have helped you, made you look good. You should have showed up on Elm Street, right? Are you scared to go there? I mean, with plenty of cops, you would have been safe. I know that's not your district, but you are running for assemblyman, and you are running for District 90, which covers the entire city of Yonkers. It would have been a good look, especially since Nader was nowhere to be found. You missed an opportunity there, Mr. Breen. So was this not the kind of photo op Nader likes? Therefore, he skipped showing up to support both the police and the community. Right? And the community is the individual, and police are people who vote for him and support him. So why was Mr. Sage not there? Where was he? Why was he MIA?
533 and New York lawmakers who voted in favor.
Why? I don't know. But many people are now in favor of changing this bail reform. Bronx residents begin to walk to Albany to call for change to the state's bail reform law. And it's not just white people, right? Because they don't look white to me. Everybody is a potential victim, right? And you're more likely to be victimized by somebody you know or somebody that looks like you. That's just a statistical fact. So more white people victimize white people, more black people victimize black people, more Hispanics victimize Hispanics. That's just statistically the way it is, right? So why were you not there, Nader? You are the assemblyman that represents the entire city of Yonkers, and you didn't show up. Majority leader, why were you not there? You are the majority leader. It is a minority community, and you pride yourself and you sell yourself on being a minority, a woman of color. Yet you fail to show up to a shooting of a police officer in a section of town that is predominantly Black and Hispanic. Showing up, regardless if it's your district or not, shows that you care. Shows that you care. County Legislator James Nolan showed up. That's not his district. Some people say, well, he's pro-cop and he's Republican. So what? He showed support. He showed up. And he's also got this thing where he's going to be doing a gun buyback. So he's working on this gun violence stuff. Listen, say what you want, but I don't hear anything else being done. And that was in his district, yet he showed up. So much respect to you, County Legislator Jimmy Nolan. The mayor was there. Obviously, Police Commissioner John Mueller was there. And Corazon Isaac was there as well. She represents that district, council member for District 2, but said not one word. And that has become kind of a common pattern when there's a shooting there, because many times when there is a shooting, it's usually in that area, unfortunately, but it's known. And she simply stands behind the mayor at press conferences and never says one word to her constituents, the people that voted for her in that district, who deserve to hear something from her, who deserve to hear what she's going to do about it, because it's not stopping. These individuals had weapons on them. Those officers, for whatever your opinion is, because again, the officer that was shot is a 27-year veteran. He's very well known on the street. I don't want to even say the name that they call him out of respect for the family and the situation that he's in right now, but he has a nickname out in the street, very well known. Many people say he, had roughed him up at one point. This is what I'm hearing from people in the community. I'm just saying. So he's very well known, right? Very well known, but he prevented, and the other officers and the FBI just prevented possibly somebody else from getting killed, an innocent victim, right? Like the 6-year-old that was shot out on Elm Street last year around the same exact time. Around the same exact time. And what about the 4 individuals that was shot on the corner from one shooter who was aiming at one person, yet 4 people were hit? So this individual, or these officers, stopped something that, could have happened. Right? If this guy walking around with a gun and had not been stopped, he would eventually possibly used it and someone innocently would have been killed. Right? So you have to look at that and say, thank you to the police officer and the FBI agents, because I don't want to see a kid innocently shot. I don't see anybody shot, but let alone someone who's just trying to live their life. Because like Commissioner John Mueller said, the community predominantly has great people. It's not everyone that lives in the area that are bad, not at all. But you got a few rotten apples that spoils the batch, unfortunately. And they said they're trying to clean this up and they want to change it. Well, there's a few individuals that are spoiling the batch. Can we not get those few individuals out, right? Just take those individuals out. So, they're working on something. I spoke with the commissioner. He had an idea. I'd like to speak to him more about that. I'm actually got to get my information out to him. I'll be reaching out to your office today, Commissioner, because I would love to speak to you more and expand on that conversation we were having and really get something done for the city of Yonkers, particularly areas that we are having these problems in, right? We have to, really be proactive, because we have to protect everyone. Everyone gets protected when we're proactive. Members of the community as well as police officers, okay? Because you have to show respect for cops. That's a dangerous job. We don't know what they deal with every day in and day out. We only hear it once in a blue when it's a, incident like this, right? Or when, someone is killed unarmed, and then, right, we hear that. And look, I'm not defending it. They're wrong. Many times they were wrong in that case, but you also have to understand what officers have to deal with day in and day out. Okay, day in and day out. Stuff like, domestic disputes in apartments, right? And sometimes it's the same apartment over and over, and it's just, these things that they deal with. And not to say that that's not their job. That's their job. Yes, that's their job. But everyone, think about your job. At some point, it gets stressful. So we must understand where police officers, what they have to deal with. Let's not Monday quarterback this, right? Let's let the investigators do their thing. Bottom line, the individual had a weapon. He shot the police. At that point, what else do you really want to know? Right? What else do you need to know? They had to fire back to eliminate the threat. So I don't fault the officers for what they did. And I want to thank the officers, because they may have prevented an innocent individual from being shot. Right? So, again, shout out to Yonkers Police Department. Thank you guys for being very respectful yesterday. I appreciate it. To the detective that I saw on Elm Street again, who was at the building department, thank you very much, officer. I have a lot of respect for you, because he treated me very, very respectfully. They all did. And they actually felt sorry for me for what these knuckleheads at the building department were doing. I hope they know now. So anyway, we have to have respect for officers, right? We have to protect everyone, constituents, the community, police officers, right? And I really, truly blame the elected officials. That's who I'm putting the blame on. I'm sorry. We need new leadership. Yep. That's funny that you say that. 12 years of current administration and crime is the highest it has been. Say no to the 4th term. Hours later, the mayor had a birthday fundraiser. Enough. Stop the corruption. Yeah. The mayor was having a birthday, a party and fundraising event at Zoop does. And, so Now, people are criticizing it, saying, why did the mayor have this event after the officer was shot? You know, I've been thinking about this, Carolyn. I have, and again, remember, I'm really on your side. I have. I just know that there's a lot that goes into things like that when you're planning stuff and last minute cancellations. I'm not sure what effects that may have had. Ripple effects and other things. People, there's people that probably, that are working the event and that, are expected to work. That have maybe done things. So, they cook food or whatever, and they don't want to. So it's so much other things beside the mayor when it comes to that I was thinking about, that I could understand why they move forward with it, this is not, this happened, in the afternoon and stuff. So I don't know how much time. So that's what I want to say about that, just to kind of put that out there, to at least consider that factor. And then, you can have your opinion from there, and you're entitled to it. And I always respect it. Prayers to the officer and his families, praying for a speedy recovery. Absolutely. We don't ever want to see no one get hurt. I don't care what, how you feel about cops or how you feel about a certain area of town. You don't ever want to see people get hurt. You don't ever want to see people lose their lives. There's no coming back from death. And as someone who suffered death, right, so, much in such a short amount of time, I can tell you, it's not something, I ever wish on anyone. Never. I never wish that on anyone. It's something that I still struggle with, right? I'm still dealing with my own grief from my own losses. And, I could put the blame on, whoever might, because I don't blame anyone else for what happened to my situation. But it's still a loss, and it still hurts. And whoever's fault it was, it doesn't matter at that point. We have to respect the families, those that are suffering, that are going through pain, and that will be grieving for a very long time, because everyone grieves differently and they process grief differently. And for some people, they can get over it quickly. Some people, it takes several years. So he does have a mother. He does have 5 children. The suspect who was killed, they are, independent of what happened, so we must still consider their feelings. And then the officer's family and possibly children. I'm sure he may have children, I'm sure, to his kids and stuff like that, praying, because, they're going through a lot right now as well. And considering that the officer was going to be retiring in a week, my apology, a week, right? It sucks. That's when it happens. It sucks to happen anytime, but it's like you just almost out of there. So, prayers from the show, from me and my show, my family, and all of us, at Basement Politics. We are sending our condolences to both the families, and our prayers to both families. We hope that we can just figure this out. Yonkers, it's time. Elected officials, I understand that crime is increasing everywhere across the country. I get that, but we can't continue to use that as a reason why we can't improve, the safety here in the city of Yonkers for the people. All right, because there's a lot of things happening here. A lot of money is being spent here, right? So why can't we, also focus on improving not just the cosmetics or the aesthetics of the way the city looks, but also the crime and the mental health and the drug addiction and the homelessness. And I know it's a lot, it's a complex thing, but I think people want to see some real, effort being made. Not say, hey, fix it all in one day, but can we see some real effort being made? Not just middlemaning food, okay? So that's why I put the blame on elected officials, those representing these districts, bottom line. And until we change these individuals and we get the people out that's just been here for too long, it's not going to change. You need someone in there that's going to go in there and really want to see what needs to be done. How can we truly make this city better all around and for everyone as best as possible? Everyone's never going to always be happy, but the majority, right? And there are basic things that everyone, I would think, would want. And that's safe neighborhoods, good education, great education, right? Jobs, affordable housing, the opportunity to work for the city, fair opportunity to work for the city, right? And I think someone, that is individuals that are voted in these coming elections should be individuals that have that goal in mind and want to really cut through all the nonsense, see where we can make the changes, truly make changes, truly fix things up, truly improve things here for everyone as best as possible. Someone that truly loves the city, that cares about the people, right? More than anything else. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Thank you for joining me this morning. Nader, I'm disappointed again. You should have showed up. Majority Leader, disappointed. You should have shown up. But should I have expected anything different? No. No. No.
Wins. Freddie wins. Fatality.
Thank you, folks, for joining me. That was my morning episode. I got to get to my office now. But again, we must come together. We have a serious problem here in the city of Yonkers that needs to be addressed. I want to see a true active effort by our elected officials. Corazon Pineda, you should have spoken and said something. Nader Sage, you should have been there, right? You take opportunities to do photo ops when it's feel-good things, but when it's serious things, real issues that need addressing, you're nowhere to be found. Your office is literally minutes away. And Tasha Diaz, Majority Leader, you two are buddies. Where were you at? The both of you. Where were you at? Hanging out somewhere? Middleman in food? It's time to vote individuals out, folks. You want to see change? Let's think about who we elect. I want to see passion for change and fearlessness, strength. Someone that's ready to get in somebody's. Thank you for joining me. Have a beautiful, blessed day.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I was raised in housing.
Freddie